Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of the Daily Canon Tactics Board. Stephen Bradley here, bringing you the tactical tweaks and quirks that came from Arsenal's exceptionally undeserved and unfortunate 2-1 loss to Manchester City this lunchtime. According to this, 15-20 minutes after the game, and I've promised I'm not going to mention VAR once, and I'm also going to promise that I'm going to break that promise because it was farcical. But yeah, just before we start in the video, I just want to say, Happy New Year to everyone who watches this channel. I know the result didn't go our way, but if Arsenal play like this for the next year, things are going to be looking rosy, because that might have been the best 60 minutes Arsenal have played in years. It was superb against a team playing well, against a team that, is one of, if not the best in Europe right now. And they were creating a couple of chances from set pieces, and Arsenal matched them. For 60 minutes, Arsenal were the better of them. And yeah, then things slightly unravelled, so to speak. But yeah, like I said, Happy New Year. Thanks for making this channel such a success. And yes, you might be looking at it, where is he? 1,400 subscribers, a success. To me, it is. So thank you. And if you do enjoy this video over the next 10-15 minutes, please feel free to hit the like button. Leave a comment down below. We've got a great community of people commenting below. We've even got one lad who leaves player ratings at the end of every game. Thanks to you, sir. That's even building some comment and some interest, some dialogue. Like, we've got a lot of people who want to talk about the game. So if you're one of those people, feel free to join in. One rule: don't be an ass. Simple as. Treat it as if you're in the pub and you're about to buy your man a pint. That's it. Simple as. And yeah, if you want these videos in your inbox on a regular basis, hit the subscribe button. They'll be in the day of, if not the day after the game. And yeah, it's hard to feel bad about a game like this, because yes, things didn't go Arsenal's way, especially in the refereeing department, but Arsenal for an hour went toe-to-toe with one of, if not the best teams in Europe, in Manchester City. They didn't do it by hiding. They didn't do it by, just sitting back and playing, 9 lads, everyone back, blah, 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 and just sitting. Because we've seen Arsenal do this before. I just hope to get something on the counter. That's not how Arsenal played at all. Arsenal basically said, look, this is how we're playing. This is what we're doing well. This is what we're going to try and do. And so be it. And it was working. Like, Arsenal were disciplined, at least for the first hour. They were making sure that Manchester City weren't getting easy chances. They were making chances, especially from set pieces, but they weren't getting any open play shots. Manchester City had, in the entire game, 2 shots on target, and that includes the penalty. Like, you can't really ask for more than that, even when you're down to 10 men after an hour. Like, Arsenal defended really well, and it wasn't it was half tactical, half just determination and effort, because what Arsenal did, and you'll see here where I've got Sterling and Tomiyasu basically on top of each other, it was because Tomiyasu's job was just to do this, just to stick to him like, like really bad Christmas paper, the stuff that you can't tear off. And you're like, how do I get this? That's what Tomiyasu did to Sterling today. And what Arsenal did was, when City had the ball here, they pressed. They pressed like hell. They went 4-on-4, and Xhaka pushed up and Partey pushed up, and they were like, look, if you can get the ball out, great. But we don't think you can. And look, City did at times get out, but a lot of the times it went back to Ederson. And it's one of those ones where anytime you can get City to hit the ball long, you win. If they want to have a long ball between Tierney and Mahrez, or between Tomiyasu and Sterling, you take that all day in opposition to, letting them pass it around and then through you. You want them to try and hit it long. And what Arsenal would do was consistently make Manchester City uncomfortable. They weren't letting City just, they weren't just dropping back and letting City get into the position so that Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne can get in here. Rodri pushes up. Cancelo pushes in as well. And then they sit on you like this. And you're just penned in all game. Arsenal did not do that. Arsenal made sure that at every opportunity there was a red shirt in front of a blue shirt. And as a result, City weren't able just to get into their normal patterns of play. And then when City did get the ball here, very simple, very effective, very Mike Bassett, 4-4-2. Right? Nothing clever. Just make sure, and then Ake would push forward, and Diaz would come here, Laporte would go here, Cancelo would then join in, Rodri would push up, and they'd try and beat you like they always do, with runs from everywhere, with De Bruyne ended up here sometimes, and Jesus ending up here, and Silva ended up here, and Mahrez here, or sometimes Mahrez here and Jesus there, just trying to draw you out of position, try to make spaces here so they can go in here. Or, Ben White getting dragged over, Sterling can get in, or Tomiyasu following him in. So we've seen this before. And what Arsenal were brilliant at doing was staying disciplined, was staying basically in position, and just letting City just basically pass the ball in front of them. And that's hard to do because it is so tempting and so just to stick a little leg out and then suddenly they've beaten you one-on-one and then they're in and then the defence collapses and then there's space. Like, it's absolutely tiring and exhausting, both physically and mentally, to keep up this. And Arsenal were able to do it for 93 of the 96 minutes that were played. And the thing to note is that Arsenal did have spells on the ball as well, and what Manchester City did when Arsenal had the ball, or especially when Arsenal were doing kickouts, Arsenal were like this. 4-4-2. Exactly the same. Like we talk about Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta and Jurgen Klopp. They're coming up with new ways of playing football. But when it comes to keeping a disciplined shape and making sure teams don't get in, it's still hard to beat the classics. It's still hard to just you put two lines of four in front of your defence and your two strikers shuttle around and make things awkward. It's not rocket science, and that's the key to the way Arsenal played, because Arsenal were able to take full advantage of Manchester City not being able to get back into this shape on a counter-attack far more than City were able to take advantage of Arsenal not getting able in shape. And the first goal shows this properly, because Arsenal get on a counter-attack, Bernardo Silva is caught forward, and it's basically like this. And Sterling's here, and it's actually more like around this, because Mahrez has gone to press Xhaka. And this has always been my biggest criticism of Xhaka. He has every pass in the book. He is such a talented midfielder. He can play any pass, but it's his mentality. He panics, basically. And when he panics, he goes back, and it was the same with the penalty. But for Arsenal to succeed, he has to be able to play this pass to Odegaard. 99 times out of 100, he'll pass it back to Ben White, who will knock it long. But this time, he turns and he finds Odegaard. And Arsenal are off to the races. Bernardo Silva doesn't get back. Mahrez doesn't get back. Saka cuts in. Odegaard finds Tierney. Martinelli runs wide to keep Cancelo. And Lacazette gets here, and Saka gets here. And Laporte and Ake get across. And what Tierney's trying to do here, basically, is get the ball in here. And I think he scuffs it a little bit. But Lacazette, in a brilliant act of unselfishness, basically just he blocks Ake off and gives Saka the free goal. It's almost like a pick and roll, or at least a screen move in basketball, where you make space for the shooter, and here's Steph Curry, just puts it in the far corner, and it's 1-0. And Arsenal were able to do this at will. If we go to our old friend, the heat map. And the heat map now today is a little bit messed up just because, you know, Arsenal were down to 10 men after an hour. Which means City had a lot of the ball here, hence the red marks. But you can see how frequently Arsenal were able to go from, you know, knock the ball from Aaron Ramsdale, who would hit it long, to Bukayo Saka, who was winning the ball in the air against Nathan Ake more and more because, you know, Nathan Ake he is a centre back, but he'd been picked as a left back to basically keep hold of Saka and couldn't. You know, even to the extent where Ramsdale on goal kicks, which is knocking it long, and Saka was able to hold off Ake and win the ball. Like, so balls were able to go out here as well at will. But what Arsenal were able to do really quickly was that as soon as Saka got the ball here, what they were able to do, even when City got back to their 4-4-2, Tierney was able to get forward, and that left Martinelli basically one-on-one with Cancelo. And Cancelo had no chance. Martinelli is starting to develop into one of these players where it's like, uh-oh, you can't leave him with space. You can't let him run at you, you can't let him run past you. So what do? Diaz has to come over, which now means Lacazette is one-on-one with Laporte, which now means Ake doesn't get help. And Saka was cooking Ake all in the first half. Ake had no answer to anything Saka did. It was telling that in like the second minute of the second half, Saka got the ball here. There was legitimately 4 players around Saka. It was startling to see that they're like, no, you're not getting the ball again. No. And he was rather nullified a little bit in the second half, but that just meant, you know, the defence was all the way over here. That just meant Martinelli was through. Like, Arsenal were doing a brilliant job of making City do things that they just don't want to do. They want to press like this, but they want to do that here. They want to catch you out here. And then make you pass backward. And then Silva and Jesus and Mahrez. And then they get the ball here and then they pounce. Arsenal were making them do it here. No, when was the last time you saw City send 4 players at a player at left back, at their left back? Like, it was insane. And everything was going to plan. Arsenal were playing brilliantly. They were starting to get tired, but everything was going well. And then all I can say is that Arsenal were taught a lesson in the dark arts. You know, we've seen Arsenal over the last 6 to 9 months become more, I don't want to say dirty, but certainly less afraid of using dirty tricks. Yeah, and when I mean dirty tricks, I mean, you know, surrounding the referee, time wasting. Look, we saw Aaron Ramsdale do it with 5 minutes to go. He was saying he'd lost a contact lens. You know, stuff like that. And that's fine. It's okay to engage in that sort of thing. The best in the world is here. Mr. Rodri. You know, he's unbelievable at it. And the reason why he's unbelievable at it is because he gets away with it. And there is the difference between Arsenal winning this game and Arsenal losing this game is that this Manchester City team are the masters of the dark arts of football. And Arsenal are still learning. They're still pupils learning their way. And basically, Rodri was able to go about his way, fouling men left, right and centre and not get booked because none of his fouls were egregious. You know, even though he clattered into Martinelli at one point, he got the ball. Like, if he fouled someone, it's a nudge. It's not a big batter. You know, he doesn't smack you. It's just an oops, my bad. Xhaka for the penalty, like, the only thing I'll say about Xhaka and the penalty is that, and because Lee Hurley, who runs Daily Cannon, he maintains that when Bernardo Silva runs at Xhaka, that when Xhaka leaves out his leg, Bernardo Silva has already dived, and Xhaka grabs he grabs his shirt almost in an attempt to pull him up. And Lee might be right. I'll give him some credit on this. The only thing is that you can't appeal. You can't be doing this and saying that's not a penalty, whilst also holding on to the player's shirt. You know, it's like giving out to your mother that your little brother has eaten cookies out of the cookie jar when he's not allowed, with your hand in the cookie jar. Like, yes, they're going to give out to them, but they're also going to give out to you for being stupid enough to do this. And that's the thing. The difference between Ederson just catching Odegaard before getting the ball and Xhaka having a handful of shirt is that it took Twitter 40 minutes to find the slow-mo quick that shows exactly the angle of Ederson barely missing the ball and hitting Odegaard. Look, it's a penalty, fine. But when you're giving a picture of a lad holding a shirt and a man falling down, when you're giving referees that aren't the best at the best of times a picture like that, they're going to give a penalty. They just are. And it's, like I said, I don't want to be too critical of Xhaka in that part because he had a really good game, but it just wasn't the cleverest. And then when I talk about the dark arts, we move to Gabriel, who got booked for making a small alteration to the penalty spot. Now, never mind the fact that Aaron Ramsdale, if you go find him, did a river dance on the bloody thing about 30 seconds prior, whilst everyone was looking at VAR. Gabriel gave it a stomp, drew his boot across, and got booked. And then 2 minutes later, after Martinelli misses an open goal, again, little minutes, City had a lot of people, defending. It was 1-1. Arsenal run the attack. They'd pushed a lot of lads forward. They'd gone high. They were still on the attack. And Jesus breaks through, and Gabriel takes him out. Just as Rodri had done 2 or 3 times earlier in the game. Except Rodri takes you out with a little nudge, or an accidental trip, or something that looks accidental. It's on the borderline of a yellow. It's like, I'm not so sure. It's not really that bad a foul, even though it's a clear, a clear professional foul where he's taking a man out so that he doesn't, create an attacking opportunity. Like, it's a professional foul. But he does it in such a sly way, in such a cute way, that it doesn't look like it's a bad foul. Jesus is through, and Gabriel gives him the good old-fashioned Lex Luger bionic forearm to the chin, and knocks him out. Like, that's the difference. You've got Arsenal and Manchester City both playing to the line, both playing to this the line of what's acceptable. And Manchester City are a lot better at getting to that line and knowing what's allowed and what's not. And Arsenal just put 2 feet over the line twice. It's it's little things like that will decide games, and Manchester City might have won the title today because of it. They are a team at the top of their game, brilliant in every form, and Arsenal made young mistakes. Pretty young mistakes made by young players who are still learning. And I know Gabriel's 24, 25, but these are the little things that players will learn. They will learn not to make these mistakes again. It's what can you do? What do you do when you're taught a lesson not in how to play football, but in how not to play football? But even then, at 1-1, Arsenal found it fairly easy to keep Manchester City at bay. Xhaka came in at centre back. They took off Odegaard and brought on Rob Holding. Don't know why I've put in his full name. It's Christmas. Xhaka went to centre back, and then, interestingly enough, Guardiola took off Jesus and brought on Gundogan to be basically another runner. And Arsenal, in essence, played 5-3-1 to defend against it. And it took Manchester City, the best attacking side maybe in the world, 32 minutes to come up with their first shot on target. Like, these players ran their backside off. You know, Lacazette was exhausted. Saka was exhausted. And even though City at times were lining up, with Laporte here, Ake here, Rodri was here, Cancelo was here, Diaz goes to the left. Like, they were lining up 3-2-5 at times, with De Bruyne and Sterling always doing this, and you just have to maintain your concentration and make sure that nobody dives in, nobody makes a mistake, and they didn't. And in the 93rd minute, De Bruyne, who ends up here, because again, they can run anywhere, lumps in a hopeful ball. Gundogan gets on the end of it. Rodri gets at the rebound. It's such a FIFA goal. Like, if you play Foot Champions or stuff like that, it's such a FIFA goal. L1 triangle, L1 through ball, over the top, wait for the second bounce and goes in. And what do you do? What do you do? It's football. You play your best, you're well coached, you execute your plan perfectly, and down to a poor referee and some bad luck, you lose. It's as simple as that, unfortunately. That's the end of this tactics video. Like I said, it's one of those ones where you can be hugely encouraged by what Arsenal did. Arsenal were able to, instead of sit back, playing their shell, wait for one chance, they went toe-to-toe with Manchester City, the best team in England. And for 60 minutes, they were better than them. And if it wasn't for a refereeing decision here, a moment here or there, Arsenal would have won this game. And yes, if, buts and maybes, but this Arsenal team's for real. You cannot look at this Arsenal performance as anything other than hugely encouraging. And if that's the first performance of 2022, this young team, I certainly can't wait until the last, because the trajectory is only going up. If you did enjoy this video, again, feel free to hit the like button. If you saw something in this game that I didn't, or you want to talk about, leave a comment down below. If you want these videos in your inbox on a regular basis, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, Happy New Year. Unless you work in VAR.